Hello, everyone. I am Kat Roedell, and I wanted to thank you for being here tonight. We're going to talk about gratitude, and it's one of the 5 powerful tools that's listed in my book. And I'll go over the 5 powerful tools first. First one is forgiveness. When we learn how to forgive, we release ourselves and move into a space where we can operate without the heaviness in our spirit that a lot of people just carry around. The second one is prayer, and every single chapter doesn't only teach you what the thing is, but also teaches you how to use it and how to do it. So in the prayer chapter, there are lots of different prayers, but I want you to interpret them and make your own, use your own words. So I put the intent of the prayer up front so you know what you're going to pray. And I believe that we have to have some connection with a higher power. Otherwise, we got to do it all on our own speed, and nobody is perfect. And then we're just setting ourselves up for failure. The third powerful tool is boundaries. Now, this is a huge one for a lot of people, because when we don't have boundaries, we end up dealing with people who behave badly all the time and just run right over us. And if we're nice people, that can really be a bad place to be in. So boundaries teaches us how to evaluate other people and then write down what we're seeing, so that when we set a boundary, we can go back when we're thinking, oh, they're not that bad. We'll go back and read it and say, maybe I should keep that as a permanent reminder for a long time until that boundary is really well established. And the 2 kinds of boundaries we go over are personal boundaries, where people are taking advantage of us, and also assistive boundaries. And that's when somebody asks you to help them with their project. But they don't always recognize that you're helping them with their project, and they're probably not always compensating you for you helping them with their project. And on top of that, they're not respecting your no when you say, this isn't my thing. So when we evaluate a boundary like assistive, I have 4 questions. Is this my purpose? Is this my passion? Does it add to my resource stream? And will I find it fun? And if I had answered no to all 4 of those things, I'm very easy to say, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I'm not obligated, I'm not owning it, and it's not optional. No means no. Now, the 4th chapter in the book is on gratitude, and we're going to cover that in a minute. But the 5th one is on accountability. And that's where we learn how to not only be accountable to other people, but we learn how to be accountable to ourselves. Because once you're accountable to yourself, you don't need to be accountable to anybody else, because you're already going to be that way. It's just part of the learning technique. Now, these 5 powerful tools, I've worked with people in recovery. I've worked on my own personal journey. I do mentoring for business owners, and these are all the things I've seen common threads and common problems with people. And then I've helped them get over those things by teaching them how to do them. So with gratitude is a sword and it's a cane. It can cut through the crap, and it also can keep you supported in the times that you're having a difficult time walking. I started the book 2 years before, or about a year before, I ended up in the hospital one night, actually one day. I was cooking chili, reached across the stove to turn on the timer, and the flannel in my shirt just caught fire, like that. And I was burning, and I was trying to put it out with the kitchen sink, and that wasn't working. And I heard audibly in my head, stop, drop, and roll. And I'm like, I'm 57 years old. If I do that, I'm not getting back up again. But I did it, and it put out the fire. And then I foolishly thought, it's not too bad, it doesn't hurt. Next day, I went into the doctor. They're like, you need to get down to Mass General to the burn unit, because it was 3rd-degree burns. The very same day that I got burned, my dad was diagnosed with probably pancreatic cancer. So he and I both ended up in the emergency room being evaluated at the same time, just in different rooms. to say that it was traumatic, probably an understatement. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, had 3 skin grafts, and I still bear the scars. You can all see that. And on my arm and in my upper torso. So it was a painful time. But the second night in, because the first night I spent in the emergency room, and loud, lots of movement, people helping me and covering me up and cleaning things off and causing more pain doing that. But the second night I was in the hospital, I woke up in the middle of the night. I said, really, God, you want me to write a chapter on gratitude right now? And he started to give me the words. But I made that decision right then and there that nobody was going to walk out of my room feeling worse than they did when they came in. Because when you're in a burn unit, when you're in a hospital, it's a major trauma place. People are upset, they are crying, they are in pain, they are not nice, and the people, the nursing staff, get thrown at and yelled at and everything else. But I was not going to be that person because I already knew that gratitude was my weapon and it was my cane. So after 3 days of every time somebody came in, I gave them a compliment. I was nice. People started just coming into my room because they wanted to feel that feeling that they were appreciated, that they were seen, that they were accepted. And for me, I still needed to deal with the pain and the mindset. You alluded earlier to being in that negative place, that this neighborhood between your 2 ears is probably one of the worst places we can live in. And we shouldn't be living in there. We should be living out here and helping other people, because when we help other people, we shift from our internal focus into external. We start to do and be somebody who's different. Because if I live outside of my brain, I don't beat myself up, I don't rip myself down, I don't overanalyze what other people said. I don't. But the first step to operating in gratitude and learning how to operate in gratitude is to write a 10 I am grateful for statement. 10 statements I am grateful for. And I want you to do that during a time when you're not in crisis, except for you.
Because it'll never happen.
Right. The other thing you can do is brainstorm with somebody else when you are in crisis. Because what happens is when we're in crisis, we go into reaction mode, and whatever is the crisis becomes that black hole that we spin around and spin around and spin around. And it's very hard to create something new if we're always spinning. And when we're crafting the 10 I am grateful for statements, we are creating something new. So you write them down, you put them up on the wall or on the mirror or wherever you're going to see them. And then every once in a while, you just add another I am grateful for statement. So your list can get long. And then when you're having a down day or your life is filled, you can just read that list out loud. And when you read it out loud, your mind hears it. And after 10 I am grateful for statements, I guarantee you the serotonin will drop. And you will start to feel better, either mentally or physically. Now, how did it happen? I did not understand this before, but I was having the skin graft bandage removed. Then a skin graft is a very wet wound, and I don't want to get you upset or disgusted, but it's like super glue. The bandage was super glued to my thigh. And they don't give you any painkillers when they pull that off. They just pull it off. And it hurt. So the first thing I started to say is, I am grateful for doctors. Now, it's Mass General, which is a teaching hospital. There was the big kahuna doctor and the little pod of fishies, were the students that were learning. And they all giggled. And then I said, and I am grateful for any kind of bandage that ends in lex, Curlex, Keflex, what Adaptex, whatever it is. And they all laughed again. And then I said, I'm grateful for the nurses, and I'm grateful to be in the hospital, and I'm grateful for the good quality of care I'm receiving. And I went on, and they stopped laughing. And after 10 statements, I stopped feeling any pain, and they were still removing the bandage. I can't say that that's going to work for everybody. It was amazing that it worked for me, and I was blessed. But I learned right then and there the power of the oral word. When we hear ourselves, our brain takes that and grabs onto it and says, I'm going to make this happen. So if you say, I am grateful for, your brain says, I'm going to make it happen. You're going to be grateful. So we've got to learn how to use that in our life. And if we're having a rough day, we use our 10. If we wake up in the morning, we use our 10. Let's start the day out right. We don't have to wait until bad things happen. We can be grateful all the time. And when we adopt that attitude of gratitude, people listen. And people are drawn to it because this is such a dark, dark place. The world can be such a dark, dark place. And we have to be light. So the second exercise in the book on gratitude is called the God Box. And this is where I want you to write on little slips of paper anything you can't let go of, anything you need, anything you are going to try to trust the higher power in. And you write it down and you shut the box. You don't go back to it, you let it sit. And in a month or 2 months or 3 months, I want you to go through that box. And anything that has been answered, write how it was answered, put it in your joy jar. And I'll explain that in a minute. And anything that has resolved itself is no longer an issue, that's answered. So even if you don't think that God had anything to do with it, you put it in the joy jar. Because sometimes the answer is just keep hanging on, keep walking through, and time will resolve this thing. So the joy jar is just a clear jar. It can be a vase, it can be a mason jar. I have little tiny mason jars with joy written on them. There's whatever you need to do, but I want it to be visual. I want you to be able to see through it. Because when you start by putting little slips of paper in for things that were joyful, they were answered prayers, maybe you found $50 on the ground, maybe somebody that you cared for got hurt, but now they're all better. Whatever it might be, those items of joy, it could even be a double rainbow, right? Or a frog, if that makes you happy. You write it down and you put it in the joy jar. And what will happen is when you're having a rough day, you look at that and you start to see the answers. You start to see the good things that happen. Because the good things, they live in our head, but they're at the back. All the bad things, all the things that required us to focus on it, to get its attention that were crisis, those are living up in the front because we have to respond to them, and our brain is structured that way. So it puts the good stuff to the back because we don't have to worry about those things. We got to deal with what's in front of us. But we got to move that aside and just look at what's in front of us. And when we can visually see the blessings happen, if it happened over a year or 3 years, it doesn't matter. We just need to visually see the levels are growing. And if you're really having a really rough day, pour out that joy jar and start reading the slips. It might just say double rainbow, but you're going to remember the day that that happened. It might just say that I found $50 on the ground, but you're going to remember when that happened. Because the paper just triggers in our mind. And if you're really having a really rough day and you've already read your 10 and you're still struggling, then read those little joy jar slips out loud, because it's going to help cement the joy. Now the last exercise in the chapter on gratitude is called the gift of exhortation, or I call it pouring into people. And that's when I look at you and I say, Dawn, you have such a beautiful, beautiful soul. I have seen you grown so much in the past 11 years, and I have seen you overcome such tragedy and such, even more so, that belief in yourself that has so been healed that you can stand up and just be and not worry about it anymore. That you operate in the space now, that you draw other people into it. You're an inspiration for other people. And I love how much you've grown. And Nicole, you have blessed me already tonight, just by listening and responding and being caring. And I can see that you move the world in a different way. And that as you step into exactly who you are, you're going to find people are going to follow you. And you're not going to know why. And it's not going to be a crazy stalker kind of follow. It's going to be they're attracted to the light. And you're going to give them something that they couldn't get without that. So continue to grow. And Mary, you inspire, you lead, you carry that positiveness around with you everywhere you go. And you keep being resilient. You go through things and you don't necessarily like them, but you're always positive and you're always pushing forward and you're always looking for other people to bring into a safe, healed place. In your name again, Debbie. I did not forget you, and I have seen some things about you. You are always very, very helpful, and you're conscientious about being helpful. You say that people want you to work for them. I heard you say that. And the reason why people want you to work for them is because you are conscientious, but you're also peaceful. You carry a peace around you that just kind of draws everybody in, and they want to sit beside you. And that is a blessing, to be able to just carry that peace around with you. Peace, joy, love, those are all things we want to carry with us and spread around the world. Now I believe everybody in the room has felt the power of the gift of exhortation. But how do you do it? You start by complimenting somebody, giving them a sincere compliment. I really like your outfit, Nicole. I think that's super sharp. And I like yours because we match. And Mary, you look so relaxed and peaceful. And Debbie, I love the ocean blue. But see, a sincere compliment shifts the atmosphere. And when you smile when you do it, it breaks the ice. We don't have to be fake about it. We just have to practice it. And then when you're practicing those compliments, somebody gives you a compliment back, what do you say? Thank you. We have to learn how to receive compliments, and don't say, oh, I'm not capable of, or that's not true. Just say thank you. Don't correct people. That's rude. Take it into your heart. Write it down on your joy jar. So-and-so gave me a compliment today. Be funny about it. Be excited about it. But then when you're giving those sincere compliments, if you really see something deeper in somebody, call it out. Saw a lady at the grocery store the other day. She had 2 little kids in her shopping cart, and she was being a good mom. And I told her, I understand that you're going through a lot of stress, but you are doing exactly the right thing. So don't take it personally. This is just your job right now. And she said, thank you. Mm-hmm. But you know how often I took my kids in the store and they were acting monkeys, and everybody just looked at me. I'm like, that's not kind, and it's not supportive, you know. And I remember my daughter, who I love dearly and is 25 now and doesn't do it anymore, throwing a temper tantrum in a restaurant and having to take her outside. I wasn't real grateful for that. I wanted to eat my meal. But people need to be seen, and they need to be loved on, and they need to be offered respect when they do that tough thing. because it wasn't right for me to let that child have a temper tantrum in the middle of a restaurant and disturb everybody else. So if somebody had said to me that you're doing the right thing, that would have made me feel just a little bit better. Not that it needed to change me, it didn't, because I was doing the right thing because I'm accountable. But those are the types of things that gratitude can really do in our life and for other people. So thank you all for being here tonight and for allowing me to speak and share my book and parts of it with you. There are copies in the back if anybody is interested in a signed copy. I'm more than happy to share. Thank you all.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you, Kat.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Thank you.